Yeah, so that's actually really interesting. So you went to Dubai, and that's where you went
Yeah.
to school. And we talked a little bit about Dubai because I mean, when you went there, it wasn't was it all was it being it was in the process of being built up to what it is now, right? They were in the process
Yeah.
of some of the
Yeah.
buildings. I mean, and of course they're continuously building, but um,
Yeah.
and so
My dad,
good.
yeah, so like it's really crazy when you go to this city and see how it is evolving super quickly.
Mm,
Like my dad told me that, like no one would stay in the UAE. They will
mm,
just work for a few years and then they just leave.
mm,
In the weekend they stay at home. There's no activity to do. But because Dubai, they had this kind of strategy, like get like low paid labor, bring
mm,
them there, let them work, let them build, and get all this kind of attraction. Like they have the tallest building in the
mm,
world, they have the biggest mall in the world. And this was like through really painful process from the people. Like
mm.
when we went to the hotel, like the cleaning lady in the hotel, like that's what people they say, oh yeah, Dubai, UAE, it's amazing place. I will love it, which is cool.
Mm,
It's amazing. I enjoy it. But imagine you have different like big gap between people. Like so the lady who's cleaning the room,
mm.
her salary is $200 per month, or
Wow.
$300 per month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she works 12 hours every day. She works 6 to 7 days every week, no holiday. Like it's really, really tough
Mm,
for her.
mm,
But because people like her is making really too less money, people who have like normal job, like let's say like you're like in a company, you're accountant, you're in marketing,
mm,
and you work in an international company, you can actually enjoy the city because all these kind of services are being provided for you for almost for free.
mm, mm,
So that's why people sometimes my friends like, yeah, it's amazing city to be there. I said like, yeah, it's amazing. You can have a good time.
mm.
But if you don't really look at human rights somehow,
Yeah, yeah,
if you don't
yeah. So I mean,
consider
it's
that.
amazing, but there's a price to pay. Their
Yes.
society is paying a price for it. Now, on the other hand, I guess the next question would be involved as far as that. This is an economics question. You're definitely more in touch with it than me, but if you don't know, you don't know. Um, so how does that person who makes $200 a month live? I mean, we're not going to
Mm.
compare them to the wealthy people because I mean, the wealth gap is an issue anywhere you go in any
Yeah.
society. It's
Yeah.
and but a $200 a month income, to us
Mm.
here in the United States and to you in Switzerland now is just a pittance. I mean, how do you live on that?
Mm.
But so how do they? That's the question, I guess.
Yeah. So here's the company's strategy. So what they will do, they will go to Bangladesh or India or
Mm,
Pakistan or any
mm,
country. They
mm,
say, okay, we need cleaners.
mm,
So when they bring them, they say, okay, this is your salary. You live in the hotel. You eat from the hotel's food and you transport it from the hotel.
mm.
So literally your life is from your accommodation to the hotel, from the hotel to the accommodation,
Oh
you know,
wow, yeah.
and because you're surrounded with people from the same country or the same neighborhood,
Mm,
it become normal for you to have, yeah, why should I go to the mall today? The mall is not for me or for my friend, for us. We can
mm,
hang out in the compound. We can hang out in our room. We can chat with our family back home, and we're
mm.
fine with that. So this is how they survived. Your food is covered, your accommodations,
Okay.
everything's covered. You just work and you get this money and send it back home.
Yeah, you get a little bit of money you send back home, but you don't have to pay for food. You don't have to, and you have a uniform that you wear for most of the time. But then you have
Yes.
a few clothes that you
Yeah.
probably for more traditional clothing if you're talking about somebody from
Yes.
from a different perspective. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, and you're right from a human rights standpoint. I mean, it's a balance here because, like I say, you first hear $200 a month and you're like,
Mm,
oh my gosh, that's hardly any money. How do you do anything? How do you pay rent? How do you pay your bills? How do you do? Well, your
mm,
bills
mm,
are all paid. Now you're owned,
mm,
in a sense. This is all but slave labor, isn't it? I mean,
mm, mm.
it's that far from being slavery. People talk about
Yeah.
slave wages here in the U.S. and it's like, wow, that's nothing compared to what they're doing in Dubai, right?
Oh yeah, like my friend told me that for those who work in the construction, like they used to, they used to work as prostitute in the compound
Mm,
itself.
mm,
Like he said, like, hey man, if you wanna have some fun with me, you can just give me like, I don't know, $5 or like $3 and you can have fun with me. Because it's like your life is only within there, and you
Mm,
as a guy, you can't go to the mall, you can't go to the supermarket because like there was one guy, he's a cleaner in the building,
mm,
and he told me like, you know what, Kareem, my Dubai is this building, and I'm talking about a building like a huge building, so the
mm,
buildings there, you have like let's say like 600 apartments, you have
mm.
gym, you have swimming pool, and he told me like, like like Dubai is for me this building. If I will step out of the building and go to the supermarket and buy something, like 30% of my salary is over, because if you want to get sneakers and I don't know, like a drink and some sandwiches,
Mm,
it's over.
mm.
So
Right.
this is how they're dealing with it.
Wow. That's pretty harsh, actually. Yeah. Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, like,
yeah. You know.
but I'll tell you another thing, by the way. So for me,
Mm,
as a person with specific nationality,
mm,
I will I will get certain salary range compared to someone who's from the US, from the Canada, or from any Western country,
mm,
only because of the nationality. So I had my
mm,
colleague, he was Canadian, and he was making more than me, even
mm,
though that he was doing exactly the same work. And
mm,
in experience, I'm slightly better than him,
mm.
but he got more salary than me because he has the Canadian nationality, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And one guy came to him like, so in that company there was one guy from the Philippines, and he was specialist in SEO, search and optimization,
Mm,
and he was doing amazing job. So the guy went to his boss. His boss is
mm,
Swiss, by the way, and he said, "Hey man, I want a pay raise because I noticed that everyone else in the same field,
mm,
they make this amount of money." You know what his answer was? He said like,
mm,
"Man, look at your Filipino friends. You are making more than them by tons of money.
mm,
So you
mm.
should be happy with that." And then the
Yeah.
guy said like, "Yes, but I don't care. Someone else doing the same job is making more money than me." He said, "I can make you some, like, I can give you a little bit of raise, but I can't give you what you want. So in his face,
Right.
it was just like that.
That's
Recording in progress.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's that's I mean that's just like, the fact that they would sit there and separate your incomes based on nationality. Uh,
Mm,
and it is really interesting. I guess the only way they're going to get people from the U.S. and from Canada and from these, what we call
yeah.
first world countries is to give them the higher income.
Yeah.
But then so wouldn't it benefit them from that perspective to hire more people from Palestine and more
Yeah.
Palestinians and more Syrians? So they would actually not want to hire as many of the U.S. based and Canadian based and Europe based,
So it
right?
depends on the profession. So when you go, so there you have people in the gas station who will put fuel in your car, and these
Right.
people are mainly Indians, Pakistanis, or African. But then you
Mm-hmm.
have people who are inside the supermarket selling you the stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
petrol station. These people are mainly from Asia, Philippines, and these
Mm-hmm.
countries. So you can see this kind of like for salespeople, they will
Mm-hmm.
pick up someone like me who speak Arabic and English, and they give him
Mm-hmm.
certain salary. For big, let's say like models or like girls to be models or whatever, they will pick
Mm-hmm.
up from Ukraine, Russia. For sales, let's say in international companies, they will
Mm-hmm.
get British or Westerns. It's actually divided like that. It's categorized like that, you know.
Okay.
So you will still recruit people from these countries, from the West countries,
Mm-hmm.
but for specific jobs.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. That's yeah. Okay. So, um,